A person who represents his own region is focused on taking development to only his region. Hasn't he done good?
Linda, you know, actually William Ruto's problem is basically what you've just said. He's too hands-on.
Is that a problem?
That's a very big problem.
Okay.
You know,
anazuia watu wengine kukula ama what are you trying to say?
Running the government, you cannot run it the way William is running.
So a one-man show?
It is a one-man show. And if you look at even our Minister for Energy, Wandai, the guy looks like he does not even understand what happens. Because William clearly does not deal with a minister. You appointed a minister, whether energy or finance or name it, but you have no control of what happens.
Let me remind let me remind you on that one that this is a minister that was taken from,
from our party.
Yes.
Yeah.
And therefore,
and when I speak to you about
a very solid party that speaks.
And when you hear me speaking, when you hear me saying that our guy is powerless, I know what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, you're appointed as a flower girl, as a minister, because how does policy work? You sit down in cabinet and say, this is a policy. Then what does the president do? Hands over policy to the ministers. Go and run with it. You run with it and you become accountable to the president and the cabinet. But guess what? You're given policy to implement, then the president does not deal with you. Goes down to deal with the different officers within your ministry. And that is the problem that William Ruto is having. You cannot run government as a personal property. That is why nothing seems to be happening. You know, when it reaches a level where the president is a PR arm of government, is the marketer, is the one who goes to tell the people what he is doing. Nimetafuta, nitaweka, contractor naingia next week, chini ya miezi 7. You know, there is a problem.
And he has the sole mandate to, appoint these figures. I want to say it's sole mandate. Listen to me, to appoint these figures in cabinet.
Yes.
That one you cannot challenge.
Yeah.
But then, of course, there are also constitutional ways where the people can register discontent or perhaps say that, well, we are not happy. And I think we saw that pushed him to actually reshuffle his cabinet, Why is it that if we really have gotten to levels where we feel like, yes, something is amiss, why is it that the people have not pushed him to levels of even reshuffling?
You see, you saw what Gen Zs did.
Yes.
Gen Zs forced the president
to reshuffle?
Not just to reshuffle.
Not even to reshuffle,
to engage the opposition and all other players.
Okay.
Are we together? And that is not the problem, and that's what I'm telling you. The problem is appointing authority. You are appointed, but you cannot deliver on your mandate.
Are these stories or the facts on the table?
No, let me find this, because Nani Nyamuri, is a good marketer for the government. He will respond.
And he will tell us whether his CSs feel like they are not in charge.
The discussion we were having was whether there are issues being discussed at a public level or PR or personal issues. This is the same president who spoke about how somebody looks, how somebody sleeps in public, how they spoil the air. This is the same president who talked about personal issues, sijui who has no children, sijui the cows have not been milked, sijui what
those are my concerns in terms of the utterances that
so unless
right now.
My brother Nyamori lives in Uganda or Tanzania, he cannot say that the president, for the first time, we are discussing issues. Which issues are those? Now, number 2, when you talk about healthcare and the SHA, don't tell us how many people have enrolled.
Tell us what?
Tell us how many people you have treated and you've paid hospitals value for their money. Because SHA is not about the people who have been enlisted. I am in SHA. My grandmother is in SHA. I took her to hospital the other day. My friend, now if you walk in any hospital and say, talk about SHA, you'll be told, excuse me?
But why, Mheshimiwa, why did you enroll if you think that this is
because the
government forced you?
The lie that was sold to us, my friend.
And this lie,
do you know even...
Why do you strongly label it a lie?
Now, let me also
have you tried to...
Let me also tell you something that you don't know.
Yeah.
Even people like me, who have a private cover, when you go to hospital, there is an aspect of SHA that SHA has to take care.
Yes.
So it is not...
And you've tried and it has not worked?
My friend, my grandmother was sick the other day.
Let's allow Nyamburi Kabwe. Let's allow Nyamburi Kabwe.
So what you need to tell us is how many people have been treated, how many hospitals have been paid. As we speak, hospitals are not being paid.
Nyamburi, let's allow.
The ones that are being paid are the ones who are treating...
Brian, we just have a few more minutes.
Let's allow, yes.
Linda,
Mwananchi.
You know, when I hear my colleagues speaking, I would repeat the question that what are they smoking over there? Because this president has, as I mentioned, has focused his narrative on development. Okay? He made commitments on his manifesto. And he went around the country and communicated his manifesto very strongly. And when we are told that the president should not move around the country, the person the people of Kenya elected is the president. All the other people are part of the cast that are helping the president deliver on the mandate that the people elected him.
Yeah.
The person that is asked questions when anything goes wrong,
Is the president.
first and foremost, is the president. Okay? The other issue is that the president is a symbol of national unity. What the president has done is basically to move the presidency from, an elite association to a president that is out there engaging with the masses, listening and feeling their challenges, and, responding to those challenges in accordance with the commitments he made. Okay, and being able, as the president moves around the country, this is also the only president who has taken cabinet out of Nairobi, so that whenever they come to, for instance, if they're in Kisumu, and he holds a cabinet meeting in Kisumu, apart from dealing with the national issues, then they respond to the immediate issues that have been raised by the stakeholders there. As he moves around the country, he meets with the leadership of those particular areas, explains to them his manifesto, gets their issues, be able to make real-time decisions. And he carries his, technocrats and his policy support team with him as he does that. And when for 2 years, for 3 years, the president, it's actually 4 years now, the president has absorbed abuses, insults. And
so it is time for him to...
It got to a point, and it can get to you. Okay, that for 4 years, you are trying to elevate the discussion to a level of ideology, a level of development programs, a level of manifesto. But these guys are just talking about it. These guys are just insulting you.
Himself?
The president then said,
or itself.
The president then said that he will use 99% of his time to still speak about development, to still speak about national unity.
And 1%
but
respond.
1% he would respond and push back. You see, and in my view, we unless we are saying that on behalf of the president, we will respond to those people. Okay?
The president is only human.
The president is only human.
Wait a minute, Dr.
Kariboi might come when you might break and actually respond back.
Dr. Kariboi says if a president becomes a PR guru, well, then the world goes to shambles.
Communication and public participation is an integral element and value in our constitution.
He has a whole lot of communication team that he once blamed for not...
The first duty bearer in this government is the President of the Republic of Kenya. The first, therefore, and in public participation, the duty bearer is expected to first and foremost create awareness.
Okay.
Then after creating awareness, the duty bearer is expected to listen, to get feedback.
Linda,
let's allow
that what he's saying is then is then included in policy making.
Okay.
That's exactly what the president is doing.
My brother Nyamburi will work very hard, and I respect that, to try and defend this regime. It's not easy.
You've been there.
But yes, we voted for this regime.
Wow.
In practice, lawyers will defend you when they know you are guilty.
Yeah.
But they'll still defend you. So I respect and I appreciate the position he's in. Now, you see, what we are faced with is a conflict between what Kenyans want and what a crop of leaders think they need to do for political expediency. That is what the president is seeking and his group. Number two, my friend avoids making constitutional references, that we are led by a constitution. There is no room where it says that this will be the threshold for a president to tolerate insults. Beyond that, he can respond and act unpresidential. We should be confined within the rule of law. We have enough institutions in this country that should be keeping us, keeping our moral conduct in check.
Yeah.
We have the EACC, we have the TJRC, we have the National Human Rights Commission, you know, and many others. So if somebody was to come out, war and fear-mongering, they should be called to order. We saw that. There was an attempt, although it was an attempt to gag, but we saw it in the previous regime, where you'd hear certain characters would be summoned to go and make statements based on utterances they had made. So the president does not have the latitude to say, I'm going to respond to you. No, the country should be working that if Nyamori somehow comes off in a certain way, yes, an agency ought to be after him and have him take responsibility.
Right.
That is what is lacking.
Okay.
So the ministries, the agencies, and the departments, the commissions we have are failing. That's why I have to keep making references to the Constitution. We should be led by our Constitution. We have enough laws that ought to guide us. If the president feels that what the people are saying is too much for him, he has the option of resigning. He does not have to be the president of this country. It is by choice and by the collective will of the people today that he is a president. But we cannot start saying, Linda, that if we have a personal discourse here, we're having a conversation and we disagree, then we can escalate it to a physical fight. No, we need to discuss how do we best run our country. How can the president show? As I agree with him, the president ought to be a symbol of national unity. The president ought to be guided by our national values. Every day we see a violation of that. Whether those who are coming after him are doing it, let them be held accountable by the same law. But also us as the public have a huge part to play.
Right.
When these people congregate, those who are trying to align us along tribal balkanization, it is us to say no. When people start saying that, no, we are coming to your area, be ready to defend us, why? The conversation has to be about the people. None of these two teams is talking about we, the people. The president is not talking about us when he's making rejoinders to that team. That team, when they're attacking the president, they even have the audacity to say that they are going to sit down and agree who should become a president of this country. Where is the space for us, we, the people? I agree with the president that that lot of the united coalition of deputies, they do not have a national agenda for us as Kenyans. So I would want to encourage we as the Kenyans to start thinking about what we would be going to the ballot for. What do you want to go and vote for? Does Brian want to go and vote for universal health coverage that will work for all? Or does Nyamori still want to go and vote for SHA that is going to exploit and benefit a few, leaving a lot of people in languish and also die? Do we want to go and vote for an education system that works for us as Kenyans? We call it free, but it is public funded. That will work in Turkana, that will work in Mombasa, Wajir, Nairobi, Nyamira, across the country? Or do you want to go and vote for where you don't have JSS teachers confirmed, where you're not guaranteed of your grade 10 child will make it, will have a slot, that they'll not be sent to a school, 2 counties across, a boarding school, a day school, yet you have the option of us sitting down and saying, when we go to the ballot in 68 weeks, we will want to have an education system that works. We want a president who will abide by the rule of law, support devolution, let functions be followed by resources. You have counties, Linda, today. And I would even ask Nyamori to be humane, just for a moment, where you have kids. Next month, in a couple of weeks, they'll be reopening a school under a tree or a muddy structure. And yet that county government has received billions of money this financial year, but they have not constructed schools. So what are we talking about?
Wow.
We have to start talking
I
about
want to
the
respond.
things that ail us as Kenyans. And that is why there is a public revolt. If you look at this regime, we have had 7 movements since William Ruto was elected.
Okay.
It is going to continue. It's going to get messy because there is a resolve, there's an uprising by the people. They are demanding, we pay taxes.
Right.
We employ you. The president is not a leader of this nation. The president is the #1 employee of all Kenyans.
Okay.
He should be working for people.
And of course, not thumb chest to say, okay, well, that aside, we have other people who are watching from home. We have Oloibon Laban, who says Africa faces structural challenges, obstacles where the East does not know the West. It's a confused continent, and therefore we really are not proactive and must be if we are to survive. Another one says, greetings, panelists. About SHA, SHA is working mostly in the cases of cancer, and a good discussion as the moderator. Well, asante sana. This is a Paulista of Kwadi Okayole. And we have lots of feedback coming from your end, but of course time would not allow us to look into all that. But yes, I'll give you around 45 seconds to weigh in on that as we